Welcome, this is Carrie Schell from On Point Quilter. In this tutorial, I'm going to be sharing with you how to draft a quilt that can be constructed with exactly 3 yards. I decided that I wanted 2 blocks in my quilt and one of them to be a chain block. Select Search for Block Patterns, and under the EQ block library, the 01 Classic piece, there is a subcategory called Chains, and it has actually 35 different chains to choose from. I decided to use the Lemoyne frayed chain, and I'm going to select Edit to Block Work Table. Now the reason I did the edit is I want to create a second block that has the same basic structure. Now what I'm going to do is convert the selected segments to guides. I can keep all of the existing settings in the Precision toolbar because I want to use that same basic layout. Select the line tool and draw vertical and horizontal lines at 3.5 and 8.5 inches. I want to include half square triangles for star points in each of the rectangles. Let's start at 1 inch on the top and go to the middle of the bottom. And then we will draw a reverse line going the other direction. Repeat the process for the other 3 rectangles. Note that when we're drawing lines that are perfect 45 degrees, we are crossing over the visible snap points on the work table. Select the Color tab and color the block. Now if we want to use the same colors as in the block we pulled from the library, we can use the eyedropper to identify the color, and then use the paintbrush to color the rest of the patches. And add to Project Sketchbook. Select the Quilt work table and select a new quilt horizontal. On the Layout tab, change the number of blocks to 3 horizontal and 4 vertical, and change the size to 12 by 12. Select the Borders tab, change the size of the border to 1.5. And for border type, select the style blocks. This is going to allow us to match the blocks inside the quilt. So we can see we've got 3 horizontal. Scroll down and change the blocks in border vertical to 4, and everything now matches up. Scroll back up and select Add, and this is going to be a binding, so we're going to change the style to mitered and change the size to 0.375. Select the Design tab, and under Block Tools, Set Block, locate the chain block, and with the Alt or Options key, select the top left full block in the quilt. Then with the Alt or Options key, select the variable star block and click on the alternate space. Let's do some coloration changes. Select Fabric Tools, and to find an exact color, use the eyedropper. To color multiple blocks the same, use the paintbrush with your Control or Command key. Use the eyedropper to identify another fabric in the quilt, and I decided to use that same color on the border block surrounding each of the chain blocks. Then with the eyedropper, I'll locate the white and color the border blocks surrounding each of the star blocks. Select Swap Color to switch out a color on the quilt. I can also use a swap color to color the cornerstones and binding. Then add to Project Sketchbook, and now select Randomize and select Map to Fabrics and click on any of the patches in the quilt, and EQ will automatically add a fabric that's in the sketchbook that's close to the colors. Select Hide Show Quilt Patch Lines and add to Project Sketchbook. Now if I go to Print and Export and I print my yardage, and now let me do a preview. You're going to find that I've got 1 yard of the white and the gold, but only 5/8 of a yard of the blue. But remember that I said this was going to be binding. And for my bindings, I typically actually cut them at 2 1/4 inches. So what I'm going to do is double check what my binding is going to be if I fix that. How I can do that is, let me go ahead and cancel, go back to my border tab, and I'm going to change that last binding to the size 1.75. So remember I said I used 2 1/4. I'm going to subtract a 1/2 inch for the seam allowances on both sides. So now if I go to print and export and select yardage and do a preview and zoom in, I need 1 yard of each of the 3 fabrics. So this would be a great 3-yard quilt. In the related blog post, I will take you through some of the thought process in creating a 3-yard quilt. I also would love for you to take a look at 3-yard quilts that were designed by a number of the Quilter Masters members.